it looks like just 30 to 35% of England's top flight players have actually been vaccinated. As a result, the Premier League are very concerned that as winter approaches, the league may descend into chaos. Stars are refusing to join the campaign to encourage people to get vaccinated, and sources close to the issue state that unlike the Championship that has a vaccination rate of over 70%, the Premier League still has 30 to 35%. Bucking the trend a little bit are Wolves, Brentford and Leeds, who have reported vaccination rates of 89 to 100%, having successfully persuaded their players to be vaccinated and actually get the vaccination. While the proportion of players who've agreed to be jabbed varies between the clubs, the uptake of those clubs not involved in Europe is significantly lower. Obviously with Wolves, Brentford and Leeds bucking the trend in that regard. There's obviously a clear incentive for players who regularly travel abroad to fulfil those fixtures to be vaccinated, although it is understood that several high-profile players at clubs in European competitions are still declining the jab. A number of sides who don't have European commitments are said to having difficulties persuading their squad members to have the jab. It's been reported that Premier League players are refusing to also take part in a publicity campaign to encourage footballers to be vaccinated. The sensitive issue of player vaccination is likely to bubble up again in the coming days as national team bosses select their squads for the forthcoming international fixtures. Indeed, there are some hopes that the prospects of missing out on playing for their countries and the threat of lengthy quarantine periods may finally persuade unvaccinated international players to actually have an injection and get the vaccine. As it stands, players travelling to red list destinations could be required to isolate in a government hotel for up to 10 days on their return. Clubs are awaiting official guidance from the Premier League and the government as to whether they should release players to red list zones during the October international breaks, after the teams unanimously decided not to release players for international duties to high-risk countries during the last set of international fixtures. One option that could emerge is reducing quarantine restrictions to fully jabbed players, an initiative that might act as an incentive for players to consider the vaccination. FIFA and the government are in talks to create safe football bubbles to exempt players from a full 10-day quarantine when returning from international duty to red list countries. The international window earlier this month saw the Premier League ban their players from travelling to such countries, and when Argentinian players did travel to Brazil, the game was crazily abandoned inside of 5 minutes amid farcical scenes as Brazilian health officials stormed the pitch. The Brazilian FA is lobbying the government after 8 of their players, Rafinha of Leeds, Manchester United's Fred, Thiago Silva of Chelsea, Man City's Ederson and Jesus, as well as Alisson, Roberto Firmino and Fabinho at Liverpool, were blocked from travelling by English clubs early this month. It is hoped that players can isolate for just maybe 5 days after return, allowing them to return to their clubs sooner than normal. So what are your views? Do you think that Premier League players have an obligation to society to vaccinate? Should they all be getting vaccinated? Should the ones that haven't been vaccinated be outed? Should we know who hasn't been vaccinated, and maybe it'll affect not only their international career but their marketability? Please discuss in the comments below, but it's a pretty difficult issue to resolve. And it's something which I think will rumble on into winter.